Fans gathered in Cork City Centre from early evening to welcome home one of the most talented teams in GAA history, and among them, player of the match, Bríd Stack.
To bring it home one more time is just fantastic.
Beg Bríd Stack I gcónaí ar an lista mar ceantas na himróirí fear a dimmer Pelnaman.
She was just such a reliable player. You always felt safe. Mar imróir the fíochmhar ar an bord. Ní féidir í stoppa.
I think deep down she's very confident that she'd do a job, you know.
Chur an fern seo súla ar an sport seo.
Ag an am, doing bhí si dochlíte.
I'm so glad I was born when I was, and that I was of the age when I was when that team rolled around. When I finished up with Cork, I just wanted to get the best out of myself, see if I could reach this new challenge in Australia. Just remember falling to the floor and just screaming.
At the time, we didn't know if she'd ever walk again. At the time, like we went to the hospital, she wasn't moving.
You were after breaking your neck. And I just remember bursting into tears. Australian rules was never even on my radar. I got a call from Alan McConnell, who was the manager of the GWS Giants in Australia. Previous to that phone call, I had gotten a text from Cora saying, look, Alan McConnell is interested in ringing you. I might give him your number if that's all right. And sure, I didn't know what she meant by that. I was like, does he want me to scout for someone, or what does he want? He basically asked me, had I any interest in playing AFLW? I just said, look, what would the timeline look like? What are we thinking? And that's how it started. And the ball started rolling, and I suppose I just kicked up my training. Life doesn't present you with too many opportunities sometimes. You have to take them. I do firmly believe that the greatest risk is not taking a risk in life. When I finished up with Cork, I felt it wasn't that the body was letting me down. I just felt that my heart wasn't in it. Whereas my heart just came alight when I got this opportunity.
Ní bheadh chéan chuid as na deisina san ann de Bríd, mar achan counter nar tógachaí, sé peal na carige. Counter hooks braga agus tóchas den Bellador óg.
Bríd, where it all started.
I know. I remember you coming up there. We were training, and you came up there to bring us to a match.
I got to know Bríd really through the football. She played under 8, under 10, under 12, under 14 with Rockchapel boys team, because there was 3 girls that had to play that time to make up the numbers, and she was well able to compete, and I think that's where her evidence of how good she was and how good she was going to be came from.
I loved playing with the boys. You were never going to be as strong as them. You weren't going to be as fast as them. Definitely helped our ability to read the game a bit better. So I think that stood to us then when we actually went up then trying to play against grown women. we learned to stay away from the ones that were a couple of stone on us. But we loved it. We just wanted to be part of it. And, you know, if we could train 7 days a week with Mary and Jessie, we would have done it, because we just loved being up here and loved being part of it. When does school get painted? It was always pink.
It was done recently.
Jesus, the nets are up the back now and everything.
Why the net was always there?
The net was not there.
Always there.
We lost more footballs over that side.
Dad was obviously our principal. Myself, Seamus and Mern didn't get away with too much. I didn't miss a day of school. I'd say even if we had the plague, we were brought into school anyway.
And they had Bríd. She went to bed. She was grand. Yeah.
Myself and Myrn both wanted to be teachers as well, so we followed suit. Seamus then went down a different route. He went into the science, so he was the black sheep of the family. The rest of us towed the line.
Children were lovely, teachers were lovely, the parents were good, like. So look here, we're a rural parish.
The days.
Things passed.
Yeah.
Rockchapel is my home place. It's about 2 miles from the Kerry border, about 3 miles from the Limerick border. Very small place, very small population. Everyone knows everyone. Everyone's probably related in some capacity. Just love it. It's home. Jeez. Sure, we haven't changed today. Bar more highlights. Oh wow. You would, you'd pay good money for them satchels now, wouldn't you? They are probably, yeah. They were real leather and everything.
You know, we Bríd in a Carrinog. We advas fell Gael. We actually a most close. Gael is feather, a clatte, and a skillina. So we should antocha than fell Gael.
Gaelic football and badminton would have been the two main sports in Rockchapel, and I'd say nearly every child in the parish played both.
Mary Collins pushed myself and Narita and a few more of the girls to go for trials. So we went for Cork under 14 trials. We were very successful underage with Cork. We won under 14, under 16. We won minors, and then that minor group progressed then into the senior.
I suppose we forget all about the Sunday mornings that to leave here at 8:30, I suppose, in the winter time, especially when you were starting off, and the training was it Sunday and Wednesday and Friday. Yeah. You know, out of all that comes the joy of winning.
You had great players that time that showed their ability that they could go further. And then when it started, when we regrouped in 2003 at Cork level, when I took over as manager, they all came on board and gave great service to us and had the ability to compete at a very high level at that stage.
We were kind of aware that the senior setup wasn't to the same heights of the underage. There wasn't full commitment. People were certainly favouring their clubs and attending clubs, matches, over Cork matches all the time. That was just the way it was. There probably wasn't the bond there wasn't the connections there. There seemed to be players in and out the whole time. We could never look too far past anything because we never saw past Munster. It just takes someone to come in and to put correct procedures in place. We were all gathered to a training session, and this man in his 60s was sitting in the corner of the dressing room. Basically, we were told that he was coming in for a short while to help us out a bit.
Right, 60 seconds now, full blast. 1.
He basically said that if you're good enough, it doesn't matter where you come from, what club you're from.
Right, second ball, lads, second ball. Go, go.
That was vital for us to hear because there was such club rivalries in Cork at the time, and was coming in just with a blank sheet, blank canvas.
Bhí Anna Eamon Ryan Marr, Coach Ali, a Dibrig le Fern Pella Corky, Hog sé tacticí difriúla stock, Mona Trainala difriúla stock.
There were two distinct groups really. There were mid-20s group, very good players but hadn't won anything, and then there was another 8 or 9 young ones coming through who had been very successful under 16, under 18. At the beginning you'd be worried that the two groups mightn't gel.
Kerry or Waterford were the absolute queen pins at that time. So you couldn't even look outside of Munster. It was knockout kind of championship at that stage. Then if you did look past Munster, you were looking at the great Mayo team. Everything seemed out of your reach.
Gan faic púte riamh fern sínsir Chorcaí, po chasúil gur bharú teachtar an scéal. Bhí Mary Collins agus Éaman Ryan tucaisteach, agus leis an grúpa speisialta imireoirí bhí féna stiúr, thosta an tríide casa a 2003. Fe 2004 bhí fuinneamh nó únta agus an ghaon a seolta.
Like, it was ultimate that we had to beat Kerry at this stage. And as I said, like, you know, Bríd and the younger players came, but we had a lot of older players as well that had mature, I won't say older, but they were in their 20s. Experienced players. The experience together, I think, blended for a brilliant team.
To get over the line in that first Munster final, that was the stuff of dreams. It was that sense of belief that he had given us that very first year. What he was doing was working. Bonds were being formed, rivalries were being diminished, and everyone was working towards a common goal.
And that was basically down to the players believing in what we were doing, continuing to practice, not turning against the selectors because of the defeats, and coming good on the big day. I don't think they ever got enough credit for that part of it, you know.
Bhí sé cinnte go raibh curcaigh ag tacht faoin am sin agus go méach siad go más a thabhcí ní dólam gur thuig mé féin céco más a bheith siad agus céco fada bún is a bheith siad ann ach bhí siad ag tógáil rud ag an speisialta híos an sin agus bhí sé le feiceáil an 2004 ag bogad a raig agus chuna cumar go díal i 2005.
Bhíod champíní na mún a ríiste 2005 iad dul ó neart go neart, agus beléir gimach sé deachraíad a stop. Thig gach fir neile gimach feibna agrathú ag na rebeliúnig seo dóibh.
When we got into the height of the training, there was nothing else on our target, nothing else mattered. Football was to the forefront. We knew what we wanted and we went after it. Things were starting to pick up traction. You get over a quarter-final, we hadn't done that before. You get over a semi-final, we certainly hadn't done that before.
We didn't even have time to think about it. Suddenly, we found ourselves in an All-Ireland final. The big talk, like Cork had never won an All-Ireland final at this level. We were complete and utter underdogs. Nobody expected anything from us.
Probably only about 27,000 at it, but to us it felt like the world was there. The Galway girls were in front of us and they were waving up at their families, and we were so petrified we couldn't even scan the crowd. We were down a point at half time, and I remember Deirdre Riley was having a phenomenal season that year, and Deirdre actually came on in the second half.
Deirdre Riley, the Cork, Chris came at even one, yes. She had on goal,
Scored 2 points and she got brought down for a goal, and just little things like that. There was fantastic substitutions made in that second half.
She kicked in or so one and all.
Ora, Derry Levelry on cool all. Viese kom an chin because we're better. Kui no me der faka gonna rockling. Vi demrimer goma. Agus vi viese kom le definitely le den over le dor grep se boot win, you know.
The final whistle was just stuff of dreams. Like, you just couldn't believe that this is actually happening. We were 18 years of age and we were getting a taste of this. It was just absolutely class. And that was probably one of the most special memories that I have, is that looking up and seeing so many people, my neighbours, my relations, all on the field in Croke Park, cheering us on and cheering me on. Like, it was just brilliant.
The happiness, like, on everyone's faces, like, is just, like, it was like, all, you know, almost like all this hard work, like, has paid off.
Because of the year that was in it, because the hurlers had won, because the camogie had won, the celebrations were fantastic in Cork. We made sure we visited every girls' club place over the course of the couple of months that we had off before we went back training in January, February. It solidified fantastic friendships, and it just gave you an absolute taste for success, and we all wanted more.
Ach níor a barc amháin a bhíonn saoil go maithe go Bríd. Faidir sa bhí si freastal ollscoil limní, tháinig si trasna chorcaí a chaile, lead fiún as iarn chunta é.
So Cork and Bríd met in UL. Cork was studying law.
The University of Limerick was handing out sporting bursaries to first-year students, and we both got invited to interview. So we had to interview. We both went to the wrong place, if you can believe that.
I don't know, I was lost. And I just saw this girl and I said, come here, you don't know where the interviews are on. And she just told me where to go, and that was it.
The two of us ended up chatting for about half an hour, and as it turned out, I got the bursary and he didn't.
And I think Bríd just loved the blonde. She actually loved the blonde because she kept going on about the blonde babies.
And yeah, well, my blonde isn't like fully natural. Like, I definitely am a bottle blonde, but Cork is blonde.
I was playing hurling and football in UL the first year, and Bríd was footballing. So yeah, a lot of our time was taken up with training and socialising after the games and different things like that. You know, we were young, so it was all very casual.
We became friends then, and sure, fluted around for many, many years after that, and yeah, got serious, I suppose, in our late 20s, and the rest is history, as they say.
Bhí mná chorcaí thárseach ré nua óga treis craobh na hhéir na bhuachtain de 2005. Bhí sár an nua a bhód, fur nach bhéad bhí stop, agus bhód 5 craobh éireann as a chéile.
We got over the line on a good couple of occasions, just by the minimum, against different teams. That was testament of the other teams you were playing, like, you know, everyone was raising the bar.
Agus te se chólaigh Valerie Mulcahy Cushly den tríú bliain as a chéile Bríd stack Laochra himmerthe.
All the All-Ireland finals were so close, and it was a different opposition nearly every year. You had Galway, you had Armagh, you had Mayo, you had Monaghan, Dublin. When I think back to the scores, really it was only a kick of a ball in it. We're the only constant in terms of the All-Irelands, and that was another sense of it, like, because when you do become the team that keep on winning, like, people love to see a change or love to see the underdogs winning. When you're at the top, the only way is down, like, really.
Agus cool again, no clearing. Has she put against the Corky? Cool can as a chéile Portugal.
Ní héad de kitrin go darlíonn sé sin go mún tú cluichí a lán cluichí is a réigean le cúlín nó gáchaí cúlín nó go bhfuil tú anán tacht tarnáis ó bheith go mór chun deireadh. Taispeálann sé sin charactéir, taispeálann sé spread, ach nuair a tharlíonn sé bliain in ag bliana, taispeálann sé creideamh a bhfuil an féin bhanín a bhfuil ann, agus nach naíonn siad nervhíseach. Harmonína an san struchtúr bhfuil acu, agus harmonína go dheoid siad réiteach an aibh a bhfuil os a chóir.
Agus craobh na hhéir an buirteacha 5 bliana sa chéile, dheolar sé go raibh corcaigh do háirithe. Ach dála gachéon pruachta, ní bhíonn ann ach seall.
In 2010, something definitely started to creep in. There were a couple of girls that decided to head away travelling, and that's perfectly fine, you know. But I suppose the rest of us really needed to up the ante and to make sure that standards remained. That little bit of complacency crept in. We came in definitely cold into that Tyrone game. You just couldn't write everything that went wrong that day. Ciara O'Sullivan went down with an injury, holding her knee. Geraldine O'Flynn went down moments later, holding her knee. turned out that both girls had suffered cruciate ligament injuries. Like, you actually couldn't write that. 2 of your star players going down with injury in the very first half. The second half, Tyrone came out a different team, and they just kept gnawing away, and we just didn't have the answers.
Síle féin sin cóirta buí cínta a ghearróid san.
Agus Bríd stank agus a cóirta buí sin fáilte freisinaice.
That was probably the most heartbreaking, frustrating thing, that I had let the girls down that day.
Pass live is starting with Bríd. Arthur Levander Park. Cole go hidon. Sarah Donnelly on both the shot. A gon cheadú le blianta father. Tá corco boilte.
It was like a death that happened. We didn't know how to process it. You always think that you're going to grind yourself out of it. We had dug ourselves out of a hole for so many years, and we just couldn't do it that day.
Stolam over lev aglev in a yig, Gnortini mar Bríd, Gorevche Soler in a yig, Gorevan Laochra Strish Laidu beganin, Ox Tarlin Shishin nor a Hallan Butaka, Ox the Stoka Gorevche Kanunok Eganam, Gorouder across for her, a Raimi der Clay Nuer Yesh, and Wilmid sauce the new and will a Hillet Hastaloing.
I know a lot of us didn't watch the All-Ireland final. We had beaten Dublin the year before, and they went on to absolutely annihilate Tyrone in the final. That was really tough to think about. I knew I wanted to make things right from the year before, and a lot of my teammates felt the same. You can be very selfish in terms of, this is what I want and I will do anything to achieve it. And there was a lot of us, I suppose, that were in that mindset, that were prepared to be selfish to get where we wanted to be.
Brisha Cree agus Frostrachas, Biniad Nrudi Bavo, a Hanigamachas Kalunt Nabri and a Gavilis a day. Deriglo Tachter Nashka Larder a Gavilis a Heniag, a Borton Crave na Hearn, Ruddy Yinader a Rish a Gavilis a Doyag, Agus a Gavilis a Tridiag, Vider her Nash and Uchter. Ach Rompusach la Canish a Gavilis a Cardiag, via Clear, for na Vianish a Tachan Keen Gatapig.
You wonder probably how much of it is in a team's head that you're playing against a team that has been successful, and I think maybe in 2014 that was certainly the case. What was starting to brew between Cork and Dublin was an intense rivalry, and it definitely culminated that year in the All-Ireland final. I remember before that All-Ireland in 2014 being extremely nervous. This just feels like this could be the day that we get caught.
Tréisian droch caiúnt a bhí ag an foireann sa clé carthú canis go bhíle sa tríd. Bhí gachéine a géirí a bheith níos fearr, a bheith níos láidre, a níos aclaí. Thig gachéin duine ar an bhuireann go raibh muid an áit maith, go raibh muid ag dul chun cín, go raibh fiabhsaigh tacht ar an bhuireann, agus go raibh muid an craibh a bhuachant a rís an bbliain sin.
Lindsay Petermish, Geraldine na Flynn again down the Hongo, Lindsay Pete.
Vider Ulk Gomorver sa Cade Lach, and it's kind of fechant there, so raw, should there a ray.
At half-time, we went in 6 points down. We had never been in that position where we were so far down. And never six so comprehensively that you felt that this match was really running away from you. We have to go back to basics and rely on one another.
Bríd Corker here, the custom Tanya, Petricia Taxon again of the east. Agus round to point suddenly a town again, Lindsay Pease.
Things weren't going our way. Suddenly we're 10 points down. I remember thinking, oh my God, I really don't want to go out having lost an All-Ireland final.
Tháinig siad a rais a rís ór in ag ór agus níor a bhéin sos ann dúing is soilm. Neadidir ar chreidmid go raibh siad ag torliú ag an am.
It was when Rona's goal went in that everything just started to turn. The pressure started to mount, everyone was starting to stand a bit taller, chests were out. Everything just started to turn in our favour a little bit. Emer came on, she threaded a ball through the eye of a needle. Myself included, we all left everything out there on the field, just trying and willing to continue the roller coaster for as long as we could, because you knew it was coming to an end and you just wanted to get as much out of it as you could. Dublin, to their credit, came back. Siobhan Woods kicked a point. They went a point ahead, but I think we never wavered. Ciara Sullivan and Geraldine, who had had severe knee injuries in 2010, were the two girls that kicked our last 2 points for us. Ciara kicked the equaliser, and then no better woman than Geraldine Flynn to step up, cool, calm, collected, and just slotted it over.
Geraldine O'Flynn, but just talking at Geraldine O'Flynn. Oh, she could have had a trastan. She shot a Highland Dahans Nis Tushke. Ha Corkig Huntussig.
Bhí is a good go out ar chuna dhéanamh sin rudí at Harleen leis na fórna seo.
That final whistle was probably one of the most glorious sounds that I've ever heard in my life. Oh my God, we were in a heap. We were just on top of each other, jumping, crying, laughing. It was just the most phenomenal 2 or 3 minutes I've ever experienced in my life. To get the win and to get it in that fashion with your best friends was just the best feeling in the world.
2014 was unbelievable, yeah. I know. I still to this day, like, can't believe how we won that match. That will just go down in my mind as probably just the greatest game, like.
Leis an fearna bliana ó RT, bhíad ar anamnathe roinnt blianta ach bhí an cuma airgur sort nád a bhí ann, bhíad ar gáiltan gradam an am seo agus bhór ar prófíl dá bhar, bhí sé sin anna háchtach ach freisin bhí sé anna háchtach do pelnaán, do sport naán, go raibh fearn naán a gáilt an gradam is mó do fearn. Agus bhí an fearn seo anna háchtach in san sort dulcan cain sin.
So, ladies and gentlemen, our team of the year, it is a public vote, and the winners are the Cork Ladies Football Team.
To get selected as the RTE Team of the Year by public vote was probably the most rewarding thing, I suppose, that happened to our team, you know, after that final. At some stage you obviously think, you know, who really does back us or who really does care, you know, what we're doing. Nationally, to see that people commended us on a great comeback was lovely.
Is tóca ngach éon sport tagan fórna chun cain a churann leis an dul chun cain ar an sport ach seo an fearn is fear a dimmer pelnaán riamh a dairí grodí ó thaobh tacticí ó thaobh lúclasíocht, aclaíocht, skillanna bhí éimeann Ryan an lárnach ann sin ach marach an grúpa imróirí ní thar sé.
The biggest thing would be to try to get females to back females, you know, to get females to go to matches and to get more numbers at games. You know, the All-Ireland final is always really relatively well attended, but, you know, even just back in our day, like, it was generally our parents, our partners that would go to the games, you know, whereas I do feel it has improved, but there's obviously more to do.
Is feid mór the sport na man náfuil na maná iad hain a freastal ar na cluichí mar Laochra na seachas clown.
Tá na chalíní có sciúil, tá sí có acalaí, tá sí có dégrasach, you know, tá sí dúil bhíonach, tá sí díreach mar na lads ach bhain nach bhfuil sí có ládar agus níl sí có mór. Is mór an trú nach bhain siad taíocht a bhíán na hhéireann, like, you know.
Bhí formhúr déimlíonn na caiteag an bhir na gimmert le chéile. Bhí 8 mbliana as 9 caite chun Brendan Martin cos lí, agus fe 2015 bhí an tám taca do chuideacha aigeúirte rudí eile.
Tagan deire le gachré agus le gachré óraga agus bhí sé chun tarlú leis an furan seo. Cé gapan tú nuair a há sé leanúnt a ráig nachfuil sé. Hána le céile mar chalíní óga agus an sin mar an coach alí an sort máistar seo éimen. Agus ach dí gur níag bhí ar a gairí níos éasta bhí an mílíiste ar an clog istócha agus thosna daoine i gairí as.
After that 2014 All-Ireland final, there were certainly murmurs about going out on a high and what better high to go out on and things like that. And you were hoping, you know, that people would stay around. I suppose in my head, I was still ready to give it another couple of years. But then obviously there were girls that were in, you know, the older category that were ready to call time on it. The dream team was starting to diminish a little bit.
They're very special people, like, you know, they just do what they're asked to do, like, they never expect you to come up with something extraordinary. They just do the ordinary things very, very well.
Eamon called us all for a sing-song. We were all very well used to sing-songs. Everyone kind of had their specialised track. I got called for Crocodile Rock, Rina Buckley for the Bowl Teddy. You know, the songs were flowing, the crack was mighty, and I suppose Eamon sang a song then that time. And it was a song we hadn't heard before, and we found out after it was called Deportee from Joni Mitchell. There was one line in the chorus that was "Farewell, mes amigos," and it was just really poignant. And I suppose by the end of it, sure, we were all singing it back to him. And yeah, I suppose, you know, little did we know then, he planted the seed that night that this might be the end of it. And sure enough, 2015 was his last year with us. He gave us the best, probably one of the best decades of our lives.
Bhí Bríd ag imirt le fuireann síontar chorcaí ó 2003, agus tréiste bán ile ar an 11 de 2016, agus a rís de 2017, bliain rúthlánach de féin, dag síos lánig an bhirn. Ach bhí ahrú mór in an de Bríd agus dá clán óg, tréiste gléich speisialta gáilte an Astráil.
Is cainm gur bhris me an scéal in éireann go raibh sí chun AFLW a dhimmart níor credal an réine é. I mean, bhí sí áirithe as. De gnáin or bhíon daoine tasnú in san sport sin há siad níos óige agus ach bhí sí chun a clán a thuairt, páiste, fear céile go dtíon Astráil ach nuair dhéon sin cinne sin bhí sí ann lán díreach.
We're on travelling light anyway, and got to the airport, and I remember Cora meeting us, and instantly she just picked up Ogie and was like, "Come on, drive on slow." I relied on her heavily at the start. Cora knew the setup over in the Giants. Just took a while for me to get into. Fairly overwhelming, I suppose, the first day meeting them all. They were absolutely fantastic, and I remember that very first training session. I suppose I was nearly seeing spots, such was the heat and the intensity, but, you know, I adapted quick enough and got great kind of support, I suppose, from Cora. She told me what I needed to do.
Nuair chuaile mé go raibh Bríd ag dul amach an Astráil ar dús bóir bhí mé ceappa wow. Like, deis iontocht de a bheith ann agus leis an clán óg freisin. Ceol mé teachtar cuaí ará, you know, go raibh si ag tuairt inspráid dumsa dul arás go pell tréis mo daríonaí na bheith agam sa freisin. Ní hé ein rud é cé dul arás ag imirt pell tréis páiste a bheith agat ach chun dul agus sport nua elam sport có physicú le pell Astráil ach freisin agus an clán go léir a bhuga go dtí an Astráil sin iontoch ar fadde agus inspirádach mar bhean agus mar lúclasí freisin.
Agus Bríd déanamh go maith ina saoil ar an de bheilid an domhan, tháinig dros scéal ó bhaile.
text came through that Eamon had passed, and it was I suppose I just felt very far away. I was so thankful the girls were ringing me and we were on to each other as much as possible, and it was COVID as well at home. The girls weren't able to meet up and see each other and comfort each other. I was in Australia. I suppose everyone just felt very disconnected. It just was a really difficult time, I suppose, to try to process what had happened.
Like, even the Cork girls that were here, like, I felt, you know, it was really hard that we couldn't get together, you know, but for Eamon's funeral, we did a guard of honour up by the farm. It was a really hard time. He definitely just had such an influence on so many.
He'd been such an integral part to all of our lives for so long. It just felt wrong that we couldn't say goodbye to him properly.
Tar éis de míana fada tréála dhéanamh den sport nua seo, bhíon tám take féar de Bríd a céad chluthe a dhiimirt. Ach farír, bhí achtra scaun rúil in ádan gorcaíoch.
In the first half, I was just chasing ball, I was chasing tackles, I was laying tackles, I was getting tackled. Yeah, I just absolutely loved it. And then, unfortunately, I suppose 70 minutes into the very first game, yeah, I got an injury. There was only about a minute left on the clock, and I had pushed further and further up the field. I went down to pick up the ball, and just as I was lifting, I just felt this crunch come against my head, and just this surge of pain just shot up towards my head, down towards my back, and this unbearable pain in my right arm. The crunch was just unbelievable, the force that came at me. And obviously I was in a vulnerable position with my head over the ball, and I just remember falling to the floor and just screaming. What I find difficult is that poor Corach was on the sideline as well. Corach was given a job as he was helping out doing water with the team. And I just can't imagine what that must have looked like for him.
You're trying to hold it together and you're trying to be positive for her, but the thought was that this, like, we'll be flown back to Ireland next week on a hospital bed. At the time, we didn't know if she'd ever walk again. At the time, like, that we went to the hospital, she wasn't moving.
There was talks of surgery, and I was just in absolute disbelief that this was happening. I just kind of said to the surgeon at one stage, I was like, surgery? Like, what would surgery be needed for? And he was the one who kind of said to me, you are after breaking your neck. You are very lucky to not be paralysed from the neck down. And I just remember bursting into tears, because I'd never experienced an injury before, and to go from that to something so drastic. I was so conscious being inside in the hospital that I wasn't with Corach Óg. I'd never been away from him for longer than an hour. Thankfully, the doctors worked so well and so hard to ensure that I could get home. I was in tremendous pain, but I knew that it was stable once, you know, I had gotten the all clear. And I was so glad, so glad to be back to my little boy. I suppose the most important man that day was the doctor that was on site. He rushed in straight away, and the second that I rolled over, he just held my neck. And he held my neck until the ambulance came. And I suppose I'm just so indebted to that man that he did that. Because what I found out afterwards is that it was millimetres from, you know, being something life-changing.
I was very worried that time, all right. Especially being so far away, especially with the Cork and Cork Oak, and maybe I was imagining it was worse than it was, but it was frightening.
Ní raibh Bríd chun ligean den ngartú seo stoppa chur le, agus debre sí go crúig de lós títhe chun a bheith an fille faic na himara.
I wasn't able to move very fast, or I wasn't able to turn very sharply, but I was back on the field.
Have I forgotten anything?
Maybe one. Who's in the other Irish here?
I knew you'd chime in.
That beautiful night that I got selected, I'll never forget it. As long as I live. Alan is so kind, but also a bit mischievous. He left my announcement until last. I just burst into tears that it was all worth it, that I had gotten back, that I was healthy and happy and able, and that I was now getting my chance. The exhilaration of it was just fantastic. It really, really was. And I had, you know, all my teammates cheering me on. It was just amazing stuff.
Crumb by Stack. Opportunity for her first goal. And what a time to deliver her first goal. Little paddle on by Potter. Kept it alive. Stack right with her.
Cé raibh Bríd sásta an deisibheice séasúr a bhain eile a dhéanamh sa chluithe nua seo ina crístig. Hic sí greibh se am fille lena clown a bhód dúchas.
We had made such great friends. We had gotten to travel a bit of Australia and have a little adventure, and now to come home. The biggest reason for us to come home was that we certainly didn't want to prolong extending our family anymore. You just don't know how those type of things are going to go, whether it's going to take a long time or not. Thankfully, a couple of weeks after coming home, we found out we were expecting, and it was just the most brilliant, wonderful news. Unfortunately, then suffered a miscarriage not long after that. That was fairly difficult, I think, when you've everything kind of lined up in your head that I'll come home now and, you know, this will happen, and it didn't happen that way. I'd suffered a miscarriage before Cork Oak came as well. There's always that little bit of, did I play sport for too long? You know, that little bit of a worry. It probably shook me a lot more than I thought it would. And then just the best news that ever came along is that we found out we were expecting again. And, you know, thankfully that pregnancy progressed, and we welcomed little Shayna.
Yeah, we're happy to be home, yeah, definitely. Oaks probably missed the grandparents, and then towards the end we were kind of ready to come home, yeah.
We're in a different stage now and looking to plans for the future, and hopefully getting our plans in for planning permission in the next while, and, you know, another big adventure ahead, like, you know, building our forever home.
Life goes on, and yeah, sure. Look, we might go back to Oz one day, but it won't be to play.
You've heard the sunshine.
Yeah.
We'd obviously hope that Ogie and Shayna would have an interest in sport, but you know, I think what's most important is that they have a passion in life, no matter what that passion is. Once they're happy, we're happy. So.
Ó chlán amháin go chlán eile. Is iad na maná gur chaisi na blianta gimirtló Is mó a dhéanann cóilúdar agus caradas a láthar fós de Bríd.
Like we all knew that the second you stepped onto the pitch, we were all very, very serious about what we were doing.
Yeah.
But you know, the second we stepped off it then, it was like...
Playtime.
You used to even say to us, like, get your talk out now. Like, we used to dump the bags in here, and we'd have, by the time we walked out, it was literally like speed talking, and then training was starting, so it was like zip.
At number one, we were all good footballers, and then the group were all in the same mindset that we're going out to train hard, and off the field, then that was it. We were enjoying ourselves, but number one, it was going out training hard. Yeah, I think there's a huge enjoyment in pushing yourself and getting the best of each other and having to mark these ones like them trying to mark.
She's not right, lads, she's not right. Sure, so many of us have been playing, I suppose the younger group, we're playing together since... Just to be together that long, like, sure, we know everything about each other and everything about each other's families, and we're forever ingrained in each other's lives, which is lovely. Yeah.
You can't forget the tough trainings we had, and I guess the fact that we were there for like 12 years together, 3 nights a week, and then certain occasions and certain matches that would have been referenced over the training session. Remember, Nolly, your goal, a few goals.
That one Ireland 10 years. Remember that one goal in 10 years you got?
I thought it was in the point of my right.
It was a great sense of like achieving something together as a group, and that, you know, encompassing the management with that, like we were all as one, and we just had that goal, and we were very driven and very committed.
Yeah, I think like it was the football that was the common denominator, but like it was the people was what needed. Like. Yeah.
When you have a full family like that, that is so immersed in each other, just wanting the best for each other, you know, it can only be a happy place. And I suppose there was a massive sense of belonging with that team. You knew you were in good hands, and you knew you were always with friends, and you could turn to anyone no matter your circumstance.
Door make or yen Bríd Yimmer she in Canish Yale Yimmer she gach no maid Swiniger shin on Brescia gachar gan ein gor two gan bit trocht ar gwyn to log overeen ar log new goal could gach no maid the Yimmer tashbon she kick o basabishi akliap agus and winning a rebic and Spanish in bushy shot brought all star she marked him more than being Darry she stole him another for Yimmer she August B helps name where if you are
Bríd mar gwine ní éad fád duine níos deisina í all tá si go hálinn mar gwine tá si go cordúil go gealgóra chun peimar fád mar imróir fiomhfuair ar an bór Pedri is stoppa agus leis go mura golóir tríglóide glan pussy á clia ar fan am líonta leihí taobh stig sóir mór agus sóir bad.
Myself and Bríd always either played in front or behind each other, side by side, and you know I always just felt safe nearly like when she was there, because like if you were going to the ball you always knew that Bríd had your back, you know, on the field, and yeah, she was just a great player.
Overwhelming feeling on the whole thing is just gratitude. I'm so grateful to the people that were involved in it, because I think, you know, without a shadow of a doubt, people make the experience. No matter where you are in the world, people make the experience. And I was so fortunate to have the likes of my parents in my corner, my siblings, Mary Collins, David Ryan, my fantastic teammates, fantastic girls over in Australia, Cora, and my beautiful husband and my 2 kids. So yeah, life is good.
decent country folk. This is from a city slicker.
When you're living in Newtown, you're 50 miles from Cork City. About as far as you can be from the nerve centre of Cork hurling.
Bill would be rattier, like. Jerry would be more plausible.
I don't feel like talking to everybody every day of the week, and if I don't feel like it, I won't do it.
I'd be a little bit better with people. I'd chat a little bit more from time to time.
Won back brilliantly by Ben O'Connor, Cork's captain, out to his brother Jerry. The Newtown Chandler duo, the twins combined.
Rud nua ag teachtar an saol na hamana, nor a chusa me de fechan ter. For in amana ballin you a handrum.
We kind of heard about Newtown Chandler and the style of hurling they were playing. The two most important players for that were Jerry and Ben O'Connor.
Still Jerry O'Connor, a little pass to the side towards the corner forward. Ben O'Connor.
It's telepathic at times. Like they don't even look at each other when they pass the ball. They seem to know where they are.
They were not part of traditional Cork hurling.
There was a load of people give you out that this wasn't hurling.
We were singled out a couple of times. How could Cork win games with small fellas like us?
But we done what we done. We stuck up for something that we thought was worth sticking up for. It was us against everyone else.
One of my greatest strengths, right, that no one doesn't ever know, I can tell twins. So I know this is Ben, that's Jerry. But if you went up to Jerry and then call him Ben, he wouldn't acknowledge you.
To this day, right, I'll be called Ben, no matter what. Some fella meet you on your own and he'll call you Ben.
A lot of time, they call my name first, because first in the alphabet, that's the only reason that I can say for it, is that B is...
You could tell him the truth, you might tell him that you thought you were better.
Ben O'Connor, look at that. Wonderful skill. Can he finish? Yes, he can. That was Jerry O'Connor. Back to his brother Ben. Back to Jerry O'Connor again. The twins combined. Newtown Chandler together.
Tá saolta Ben agus Jerry O'Connor fitte fóide na chéile le breis cúig bliana stahad. Fart na himara agus sa tail trí chéile. Cúpla a bhfuil dithe ingreacht céad slata chéile agus trú clinig Ben agus trúrag Jerry. Deol rinse gur bead mac a saola chéiliad in a chéintli.
From day one, when I started going out with Ben, there would have been a loyalty there, and it was always Jerry, you know, that came first. And I suppose even through the years with hurling, the two of them were always playing together. So I suppose Ben always had to check everything out with Jerry. And that has developed through, I suppose, even the fact now we've children similar ages. They would be very dependent on each other. Now, they wouldn't like to admit that.
You're 5 miles from Jarva, 6 miles from Jarva, which is right on the Limerick border.
A couple of 100 metres from one another, yeah?
Yeah, about half a kilometre, yeah. So it's just down the road.
They mightn't be telling each other on the phone every day they love each other. We always know when it's Jerry that rings Ben, because Ben answers the phone, yeah. But there would be great loyalty there.
We don't live in each other's pockets. It could be days, weeks, we wouldn't see one another. But if you want something to be done or you need to dig out at something, pick up the phone and he'll be on.
They would do anything for each other. Like, it's a great comfort to us that, like, we're so close to each other, because all is the phone call. Neve is down, Jerry's down, Ben's down or up, whatever needs to be done if it's needed. There's no questions asked. No questions asked. I'll be back in a minute and go up to Ben. That's how it's here. And yeah, they'd have great light each other and they'd do anything for each other.
Nor is my name to our ballin you a handruma agus a night in a wilshe. Níl roada o Limis der limní in arire. I vad o chahar chorcaí áit a rev harna blianta na club na móra.
Oh, Newtown, how small it is. Main Street, church on the right hand side, shop on the left, community hall, pub, GA pitch, and that's the village. We would be very competitive. No matter what I'd be at, if even to this day, right, if I was out running with a young lad and knowing he'd run the legs off me, I'd still like to think I'd beat him.
lads bra cún a bheong, chaisi go má leis na himróí eile agus de bhí, ní a bhíon ó begin dine lo no mar sin de.
Like I remember we met someone, you were there with Ben, I was there with Jerry, we had 3 kids each with us. And we met and we were talking away. And the kids were all talking away and there's Ben Jerry just standing to the side.
Rarely hear them talking to each other even, like, it's nearly a telepathic thing where they're nearly going by nods and so on.
Yeah, I suppose I'd be what's the word I'm looking for?
Cranky.
No.
We used to do everything together, I suppose. Pull the heads off one another. Fall in and fall out. If he got a jacket, I get a jacket. If he got a pants, I get a pants. Yeah, everything would have been the same, yeah.
They were you couldn't separate them. Couldn't separate them. They were always together. One fella out and the other one at home. The other fella would demand to get the same as what he was after getting to bring it back.
I suppose, how long did you keep dressed just the same? 14 or 15?
It was sport, was the outlet. Then there was a few more of us came along at home with a big crowd in the family, so I suppose it was easy enough to be matches being played outside and there was fighting, to be great crackhead like. The more I got involved, she was washing jerseys. You know yourself, it's like the mafia. Once you get in, you can't. It's very hard to get out of it.
When you tell the story of Newtown, you really can't tell it without really looking at the story of Bernie O'Connor. He would have began coaching in the short stick passing style of play. That was imagine doing that like in the 80s, the 70s. It's completely alien.
Possession-based game, basically. Like, the ball was a rare commodity to get your hands in it, so when you did get your hands in it, you'd look after it and try and give it to the man in a better position or use it properly.
I was taught traditional hurling, and that to me was catch it, as they'd say, catch it back at the end and let it fly. I had a team that were smallish enough, and there was no point in putting ball up in the sky, put it down where they could play it.
10 of us in the house, need to work hard to provide for all of us. Anything we ever needed, we got it. Yeah, I suppose he instilled a bit of that in us as well, that we didn't get anything handy off him.
As soon as I picked up a hurley, you'd know they were hurlers. They had a winning attitude and they had a training attitude that second to none.
He started off with us at 10 or 11 years of age and worked right up with us, so the amount of work he put into this. Now, for a man that wasn't born and reared in Newtown, he would be seen as a blow into the parish.
Agus stíl friúlacha, níor bhad a grab dulchan cína dhéana bheith bailin nua hans roma. Yn erig nócha sé, fod y crefydd yr fan a chorcaí, agus cén arwyd o'r ach sé blian y diog ag yn awn, fwy bwynt nach beog ag yn gwpla leis yn mwysyn.
A shot! Oh, lovely one. Could have gone anyway, but over the bar. Jerry O'Connor can bend just of the heavy hand bend it after only his man. O'Connor's going right through his taking shot.
Bhí commas na berta a húrt fenara, ach be ben behúisce a ránaíocht de fanéil síntir amán a chorcaí.
Just delighted to get the goal.
Not a word, do your own thing.
It's like it never happened. So just get on with it, pedal your own canoe, you have to do what you have to do, and I have to do what I have to do, and that's just the way it was. But the main thing is down to drive. If you're driven enough, like, and if you're good enough, you'll get there.
Young Ben O'Connor from Newton Shandrum playing in just his 4th ever championship match.
What a year to get the call, like Jimmy went with Jude. And I enjoyed every bit of it.
Looking for enough room, gets enough accuracy on it as well, and Cork take the lead through Ben O'Connor.
Great, like going to all the matches, especially when you had a bit of skin in the game, you had somebody related to you. So every day you went, you were hoping he'd play well, get a few scores or whatever.
All over, and Cork are the All-Ireland hurling champions for 1999.
But like that, to be honest, a bit jealous. Well, I felt as though I was as good as him, if not better. I was thinking to myself, well, when am I going to get my chance? It was a case of put your head down then in training and Do your best at home and try and put yourself in the frame for maybe a call-up like he got.
Ba bhliain ríthachtacha í bliain dá bhíle do Iarden Valley nua hen drama. Treistóibh trí chraibh faoi fehéin as a chéile ag nóthú, hí an Tráid Valley beag seo I dúsgart Chorcaí tí a chéad chraibh sínte riamh a bhuachtant.
Probably started out, there was probably no expectation at all. Small rural place, wasn't expected to do much.
There's Donald Mulcahy to Jerry O'Connor. Jerry Herring for goal, Brian Corcoran after him. Still Jerry O'Connor, a little pass to the side towards the corner forward. Ben O'Connor and over the bar.
It would have been around that late 90s, going into 2000, that Newtown really started to get noticed. It's completely alien, this style of hurling. It's hard now when we live in an era where possession hurling is kind of part of the furniture, it's part of the basics of what we watch now, certainly at the highest level of hurling. Back then, this is like something dropped down from Mars.
Matt Mulcahy breaks it down to Donald Mulcahy. Donald Mulcahy going forward to Jerry O'Connor. Jerry O'Connor gone past Timmy Kelleher. Herring in the middle, hitting it first time, hitting it over the bar. Great point by Jerry O'Connor.
Du sa siad an slitter an a bhar fad faoi stúrú Bern sin an stíle bhí aige gan rudí a felt gan Justin Lee rud a bhúlisteach.
Bhí stíl an a tradiisiúnta I Corcaigh agus bhí áras in aigean na daine, bhí dátaine in aigean na daine fechatar.
They seem to be controlling the whole game, you know. One fella wins the ball, passes it off to another fella. Next thing it's back to the first fella again.
All on his own, outside the 20-metre line. Ben O'Connor hits it over the bar, great point. And that's a vintage Newtown point.
Newtown winning a county in Cork that was a massive thing because you were breaking the mold.
It's all over. Newtown are county champions. Their first ever final and their first ever championship.
There was a load of people give you out that this wasn't hurling and what you're ruining the game and everything like. But like that's for me again, that drove me on like.
There's Ben.